This is the Run It Up Challenge. This is going to be day 9. It is Monday, December 22nd. Right out of the gate, I want to just do a quick note. The Twitter account that I've been asking you to follow for more information for lineup postings closer to tip-off has changed. So in the past, it was at the DF Rankings. It is no longer. It is at RickRunGood, which is the name of this YouTube channel you're on. Basically, it was found out it was a lot easier for people to follow and figure out and search for me, and it was a Twitter handle that I wanted to snatch up. So I thought now would be a good time to do it. So moving forward, everything stayed the same, so all the content is still there. I just changed the username, so it's at RickRunGood. Okay. In this edition, we are basically right back to even as far as the bankroll goes, so we grinded it back up from our loss on the first night, and we are at $98.90. So we have nothing to recap because we did not have any NFL lineups yesterday, so we can hop right into the NBA for tonight. And there's a couple of very interesting things that are happening right now, which we'll get to. Number one, Josh Smith, as of just a few minutes ago, was released by the Detroit Pistons. That's a pretty shocking move, but that's going to mean that there are some daily fantasy implications. Unfortunately, they're not tonight, so we'll have at least a day to figure them out. I'm not sure when the Pistons play next, but it is not tonight. So we will get to that in a later episode, but we are here, day 9. We've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games on the schedule on a Monday in the NBA. So let's start where we always start, and that's with the Vegas odds for this evening. Okay, so here they are. Looking for any blowouts, which is basically just 2 of these games. The Memphis-Utah game right here is an 8.5 point line, which it doesn't scare me too much. We've talked kind of double digits being more of a threshold as far as blowout potential goes, but that's something to keep an eye on. But the most interesting one is right down here, the final game of the evening, which is basically, looking at the rest of the schedule, I guess this would be the marquee game of the night, even though it is an 11.5 point favorite, because as far as fantasy goes, there are a lot of top players in this game. So what's interesting is this 10:30 game, which has the highest total of the day, and it also has the biggest line, may be the game that we want to fade tonight. So guys like Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, DeMarcus Cousins will probably, or they're usually very highly owned. They're players that people like to run out in lineups. But if there was ever a time to not play them, it would be this evening, because they might only play 3 quarters. If this game gets out of hand early, if Golden State runs away with this, you might have your stars sitting on the bench in the 4th quarter. So this may be interesting. I haven't really started constructing lineups yet, but this may be a game that we decide to not touch and just hope that nobody goes really crazy in it, and the Warriors blow them out in kind of a team effort, as opposed to Steph Curry scoring 40 points in the first 3 quarters or something like that. So we'll see if we can fit any of those guys into our lineups, but we may avoid that one altogether. Okay, so let's get to it. Real quick, just looking at the rest of these. The second biggest game is this Atlanta-Dallas game. That's a pretty interesting game. And then there's only 3 over 200 and 1 sitting right at 200. Okay, so let's move right along. What I want to talk about today is a lot of matchup-based options, because I think that tonight we're getting some really good matchups from some of our big-time players. So I want to start with the Portland-Houston game. Now, I am looking at, let me see here, teamrankings.com, and sorry, I'm just pulling this up here. I'm looking at opponents' points in the paint, and it looks like Houston is one of the worst teams in the league. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, Houston is one of the worst teams in the league as far as giving up points in the paint. So that is a good sign for guys like LaMarcus Aldridge. So Aldridge, who, if I pull up his heat map, you'll see does the majority of his work right underneath the basket, mostly in the paint. Now, he does have a really nice ability to get out here on the elbow and drop some shots, but he does the majority of his work from up close. So knowing that Aldridge scores the majority of his buckets from in close, and the Houston Rockets struggle to defend that aspect, he would be a really good play for tonight. So let's plug in LaMarcus Aldridge into that power forward position. Excuse me. Okay. And then there is another one that just jumps off the board at me as far as dream matchups go. Excuse me again. Okay. So again, I'm looking at teamrankings.com. I've got it on my other screen. I can pull it over for you real quick. Okay, here's teamrankings.com. This is opponent percent of points from three-pointers. So how many or what percentage of points each team gives up from beyond the arc. You see that Portland does not give up a lot of them. Again, Chicago, these are the teams that the majority of the points that they allow are two-pointers. If we scroll down to the bottom of the list and look for the biggest offenders, the Dallas Mavericks are the worst in the NBA at stepping out and stopping the three. So, who do they play tonight? That's what I'm doing here. Is I'm going through and I'm saying, okay, who's the worst at something? Dallas is the worst at stopping the three. Is there going to be somebody that they're playing against that is very proficient at shooting threes? Well, lucky for us, they are playing the Atlanta Hawks, and who plays for the Atlanta Hawks is Kyle Korver. And Kyle Korver is just absolutely notorious three-point shooter. He's been doing it forever. Here's his heat chart. I mean, the guy basically almost shoots exclusively from beyond the arc, and you see that's where all of his points come from. So let's see here. This is just this season. He has taken 141 threes, and he's hit 76 of them, a staggering 53% from beyond the arc, which I love. So he is obviously an awesome play for tonight. Just looking through these here. Takes way more threes than he does twos. I don't know if they've played Dallas yet this year. No, they haven't. So just checking it out. He is just an absolute stud from beyond the arc. So if there's any night to roster this guy, tonight would be the night. If you look at his game logs, we're going to need 25 or 30 points from him to hit value. And normally, geez, oh man, excuse me again. Okay. Normally his floor is too low for me. I don't like this. I've rostered him before, and he's done this where he's put up 15 or 18 points, and it just absolutely kills you. But this is such a good matchup. I mean, we literally couldn't ask for a better matchup. We could not, if I was going to roster Kyle Korver at any point in my entire life, tonight has got to be the night, because Dallas is so bad and they just let guys spot up from him from beyond the arc, and this guy is like a Hall of Fame three-point shooter. So, yeah, I'm gonna roster Kyle tonight and see what happens, so we can plug him in there. Okay, so another matchup that I want to chat about is mostly, let me see here, I've got it on my other screen. Okay, this is going to be injury based, so I'm going to need to check this out later, but the latest indications are Zach Randolph, I believe, is listed as questionable this evening. Did not play last night. Let's see if we can find him here. So he didn't play. Right, didn't play last night, the 21st. Looks like the MRI came back clean, so he's just got swelling in the knee. So listed as questionable. If he does not play, that is going to create some opportunity in what I believe is a good matchup, because they're playing Utah, who gives up, I think, the 8th most points in the paint in the league. So that's a good matchup. So if Zach Randolph is out, there's going to be opportunity. One guy that is being highly touted because of the game he had last night is John Lohr. I believe I'm pronouncing that right. Um, so he filled in for Zach Randolph last night and had an awesome game. 16 points, 7 rebounds. He scored 31 fantasy points. So last night he was min priced. So obviously going 10 times value is huge. Now tonight he's obviously jumped up to 4,700, which means we're going to need 25 or 30 points from him to hit his value. So not nearly as good of a play tonight. I think he's an okay play. I think he's going to be extremely highly owned, this is all assuming Randolph is out. Um, so I kind of want to go the opposite way, a little contrarian on who the Memphis beneficiary would be, and I would go with Marc Gasol. So again, Randolph didn't play last night, and Gasol goes for 23 and 11. He's a consistent, solid player that when you add a few more opportunities a game, which Randolph would have taken away from him, he's going to be even better. So he already has a high floor. He's going to get a couple extra possessions. Maybe they'll run the offense through him a little bit more. Randolph won't be there to steal fantasy points from him. So I think Gasol makes a really good play. So assuming Randolph is out, I will roster Gasol. Okay, so now we've got 3 really good matchups here. I'm happy with all of these, but if you're looking at it, you're going, all right, Rick, we got to start, getting some cheaper players, and you're absolutely right. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna pause here shortly, and we'll come back and we will talk who are the value players for this evening, because we're obviously gonna have to roster a couple of them to give ourselves a little more wiggle room. So I will talk to you guys soon. We left off with Kyle Korver, LaMarcus Aldridge, and Marc Gasol plugged in already. And I mentioned that we're going to need to find some value plays, but how quickly things change in the NBA. Basically, right after I finished that first part, news came out that LaMarcus Aldridge is questionable for tonight. It's being described as a respiratory illness, and it looks like he's going to be a game-time decision. So if he plays, I still like Aldridge a lot. A little tick down if he's not going to be healthy, but if he plays, I would expect him to play full minutes. But if he's going to be a game time decision, we need to be prepared for Aldridge playing and Aldridge sitting out. So let's construct this. We'll finish this here, assuming that LaMarcus Aldridge does play, because that's what we chatted about. We said we're going to need to find some value plays for tonight, and that's what I want to do now. So once we go through this, I will pivot off of Aldridge and give maybe a second lineup or something here that we could work with. But let's go through this. So we've already got a decent amount of our salary cap committed. In fact, half of it. So we've got half of it spent on 3 positions, and now we got to spend the other half on 5 positions. So we're going to need to find some cheaper value plays. And the first place I'm going to look is to someone who's benefiting from injury, which is where most of these value plays come from. And it's with Lance Stevenson being out. Gerald Henderson has thrived in the last 2 games. So if we pull him up and check out his game logs, we're going to see that he's went for 28 and 25 in the last 2 games. He's been a solid fill-in. His price is only 4,300, so we're looking for 20 to 25 points out of him or so for him to hit value, which he's done the last 2 nights. So if he can just put up another performance like that, we would be very happy. We don't need him to go crazy for 40 fantasy points or anything like that. Of course, it would be nice, but a little unrealistic. So Henderson is a solid option filling in for Lance Stevenson, who could produce a nice value tonight. And he gets posted right into our lineup, and because we need to start saving some money. Continuing along that theme, the Charlotte Hornets are an interesting team to roll with here. So I'm going to stick on the Hornets and look for Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, who has been really good lately. He is a little concerning. His floor is low, but he's been able to kind of fill up the stat sheet. He had a double-double the last time out. I think he's playing, he passes the eye test for me, which is him playing with a lot more confidence. he's shooting effectively and getting to the free throw line at the same time. So, I honestly, I'd be lying to you if I told you I loved this play, but we need to start shedding salary. And on a night where I don't think there are a ton of value plays, he's not a bad option. So his floor is a little low for me personally, but we're not asking for a lot out of him. We're asking for 20, 25 points, and we'd be thrilled. So Michael Kidd Gilchrist, we're gonna plug him in. And I don't have a big issue really rostering two guys from the same team. There are some guys who really shy away from that and just try to pick like the top player on every single squad. But that's not necessarily a theory that I buy into. I mean, if they're both out there on the court at the same time, they're not necessarily taking points from each other. You could end up with an assist and a bucket and basically get double points. So I don't think it's wrong to stack players on the same team, but I've read that in a couple places, and I don't necessarily buy into it. Okay, so let's fill up our position that we need to, which is the point guard position. And again, we're going to look for someone who's going to benefit from injury, which is where you find these value plays at. And with Jeff Teague, who I believe is listed officially as questionable tonight. Yeah. Let's see. Okay, looks like he's downgraded to doubtful, according to recent reports. Yep, just confirming that. So we will double check on Teague later tonight, but his backup and his fill-in has been Dennis Schroeder, who has been pretty good lately. And his salary has jumped up a ton. He was $3,000 just a couple nights ago, but he's getting the playing time and he's getting the minutes. And I want to point out, so he's going for 22 and 28 in the two games that Jeff Teague has been out. So those are solid numbers. And the Houston game, he was matched up against Patrick Beverley, who's one of the best defenders in the league. So a tough draw there, and he was still able to produce 22 and a half points. So I'm very confident that he can score over 20 for us again tonight. He's a nice little play filling in for Jeff Teague. Okay. So because we rostered these high-end players, we're stuck around this 5,200, this mid-price, mid-range salaries that we're gonna have to fill it out with. But I think there are still some more decent options tonight. I mentioned. Okay, so I'm gonna try to explain this. So I mentioned earlier the Golden State Sacramento game may be an interesting game to fade. And I believe that. But in terms of fading the star players, the Steph Currys, even Klay Thompsons, DeMarco, I'm sorry, I got football on the brain. DeMarcus Cousins, those are the guys that I would prefer not to play if I could. But it's the other guys that may end up being decent plays. So let me explain why. So let's just get to this. I'm looking at Harrison Barnes here. Okay, so Harrison Barnes, who I believe his home and road splits are a lot different. He's been pretty good at home lately. Harrison Barnes is 5,000, so we're looking for 25 or 30 points out of him. And, in his last, call it 6 games, he's basically given you 20 points in 5 of them. And basically in 7 of the last 10, he's been pretty good. So I like Harrison Barnes. Now, this is, okay, so it's a game with a high total. So I would suspect that if it was still in hand, if this is not a blowout, Harrison Barnes would get a boost because it's a high total. He's been playing well lately. He's seeing a lot of minutes. It could be a game for him to produce either way. So even if it stays close, I think he can produce. If it's a blowout and they start taking guys like Steph Curry and Klay Thompson out, I still think that Harrison Barnes could continue to play and actually get a few more minutes. So it's kind of a little backwards thinking to there's always someone to benefit from injury or from benching. So if Steph Curry gets benched, someone has to benefit. If they pull the starters, someone has to benefit. So that's kind of the thought process here, where Harrison Barnes could be great or could be effective in a normal situation, and also I think he is a little bit blowout proof because I still think he doesn't lose a ton of minutes if Golden State runs away with this. So he is a guy that I think has a decent floor, 20 to 25 points, and actually has a little higher ceiling on a night like tonight. So I'm plugging in Harrison Barnes. Additionally, on the flip side of this matchup is someone who I feel is in a very similar situation, and that's Ben McLemore. So McLemore, who's been, again, really good lately, has been playing a ton more minutes, is in the same type of situation. So if this game gets out of hand, it's not unrealistic to think that McLemore continues to play and not lose those minutes. So I mentioned before this is a game I wanted to avoid, but I think that needed more clarification as opposed to just kind of not touching this game altogether. So McLemore and Barnes are kind of in the same boat in a high total game. They can produce either way, and I think they're, again, blowout proof. So this is a lineup that I would not mind rolling out tonight. It has what I feel are two very, very good matchups in LaMarcus Aldridge and Kyle Korver. In fact, Kyle Korver does not have a better matchup. Could not ask for a better matchup for Kyle Korver. And then and Marc Gasol as well, as long as Zach Rudolph doesn't play. So, I'm sorry, Zach Rudolph. Oh my God. Christmas on the brain, football on the brain, Zach Randolph. Maybe Zach Rudolph will be his new nickname. I like that a little bit. But if Zach Randolph doesn't play, I just love Marc Gasol. So I think we have three very good players in very good matchups. And we've surrounded them with players who are going to have a ton of opportunity and who have been performing well lately. So I think this is a reasonable lineup. It's certainly not a lineup that I'm in love with and I just can't get away from it. So, but I think it's a very solid lineup that could perform tonight in a lot of heads ups and provide a decent cash. And it has a high floor, which is always what we're looking for. Okay, but let's get to this because there is a chance that LaMarcus Aldridge does not play tonight. So just quickly, I'm doing this for the first time with you. If Aldridge is out, I always want you to think who's going to benefit. Well, it's probably going to be Thomas Robinson, who man, I would hate to play again. He's the most reasonable guy to benefit from Aldridge being out, but I think it's kind of a crapshoot. And to be honest with you, I don't really trust Thomas Robinson, so I would prefer to stay away from him. So what instead of plugging in a $3,000 player there and kind of revamping the entire thing, let's see what we could do. Who could we get rid of? Who is like our most expendable player? Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, who I told you I didn't really like. He's now expendable. Ben McLemore, I think, becomes expendable. These are the guys that I like the least in our original lineup. Korver, obviously I love. Gasol I love. Let's see. Let's move Barnes up to the small forward position because that'll buy us some flexibility down here. Okay, so let's fill in I like all these guys. Let's fill in a power forward. And this is a tough position tonight, to be quite honest with you. So you've got Blake Griffin, who gets a well-rested Tim Duncan, which I don't think is a great matchup. And he's 11,000, which we can't really afford. So I don't like him. If we're off Aldridge, Duncan, is he really questionable tonight, or is this just he's gonna play tonight? Interesting. I'm interested in Tim Duncan. I think his salary is a little, it's a little inflated. He's gonna need 45 points at least to hit value, which obviously he's capable of doing. He's done it a bunch of times. I don't know. I feel this is like a chance to get popped, which is like, he doesn't play. Duncan doesn't play a ton of minutes. I know they haven't played since the 19th, which was a couple nights ago. But back-to-back triple overtime games. I don't know. This just doesn't feel right to me. and I'm not that confident in it. It's very possible Tim Duncan goes absolutely insane tonight, and I'm not going to be on it. It just doesn't. It doesn't pass the eye test, and I can't stomach it. So let's continue to go down. Um, Taj Gibson's back, which cuts into Gasol's value, so that's not great. Paul Millsap has basically been underperforming his salary. I mean, he's got to hit at least 40 points, and he hasn't done that in any of his last 10. I mean, I'd really like Paul Millsap. If there was ever if Al Horford went down for a while or something like that, I would love Paul Millsap. But I mean, we're talking strictly value, and he's not doing it. So I can't touch Millsap. This is, and then Randolph is questionable. I mean, this is a very very difficult position tonight, the power forward position. I think Favors could be okay. Favors could be okay, but we talked about this a couple nights ago. So coach's decision to play him 18 minutes the other night, was it for rest and a blowout? I don't know. It's really weird. It's really really weird. This power forward position is super ugly. Um, okay, here's a guy. I mentioned Taj Gibson was back tonight, but I think him and Dirk kind of eat into each other. I don't love that. Uh, him and Powell. Dirk is a guy that I'm looking at. So Dirk needs about 30, 35 points to hit value, which he didn't do last game, but he's done 6 of his last 10, something like that. So Dirk is a reasonable play. I do have concerns over the fact that Rondo is there. And in his first game, he only, he goes 4 for 14, so he had enough shots. I think Rondo could be good. I just like to wait and see. But I could make the argument that Rondo would set up Dirk standing behind the 3-point line a lot. And if he knocks him down, he could have a big night. So it's reasonable for us to play Dirk in this terrible cesspool that is the power forward position tonight. So I will plug Dirk in, and let's continue to move on and see what happens here. Let's find another forward. So we got about 7,200 left for each player. We talked about a lot of these guys. Oh man, I love Draymond Green, by the way. Not particularly tonight, but just in general, I love this guy. Absolutely taking advantage of all the minutes he can handle. Here's something. Let me see if I can find it. There it is. Okay. Here's something that I love about Draymond Green. He costs $7,500. So you basically need 35 or 40 points out of him to hit value. He hit value the other night, and he was only 6,500 then, against Memphis by scoring 4 points. He put up 36 fantasy points with 4 actual points. That is incredible. That's what I love about him, is because he does it everywhere, just stuffing the stat sheet. He had 10 rebounds, 6 assists, 5 blocks. I mean, the guy, he can score you fantasy points a lot of different ways, so he's extremely valuable. And if he does something like this where he goes for 16, 9, and 9, a rebound and an assist away from a triple-double, he's going to have a huge night. I mean, look at this guy. He's just been absolutely filling it up. Incredible. So let's play Draymond Green tonight. Again, it's a high total game. I've talked about it a million times. Draymond Green, really good play tonight. Or could be a really good play. I mean, he's a safe play because he can fill it up. He can fill it up a lot of ways. All right. And then 6,900 to round it out. Stevenson's out. Tyson Chandler's a decent play. Tyson Chandler is a guy that, if you've heard me talk about DeAndre Jordan, I like a lot because he's going to get you a ton of rebounds. He's going to get you double-digit rebounds every night, which raises his floor. And then basically any points that he scores on top of that are just gravy. So he is the cheaper version of DeAndre Jordan, who I've talked about a ton of times, that I really, really like. So, boom, Tyson Chandler's in. This would be the lineup that we could pivot to if Aldridge is out or if you didn't trust it. So there you go. Keep an eye on Zach Randolph tonight. Keep an eye on LaMarcus Aldridge tonight. I think Jeff Teague is going to be out, so we should be good there. Yeah, so those are the injury concerns. I will post whatever the final lineup is tonight. It's on Twitter. Again, it's at RickRunGood. It's the same name as this YouTube channel, so hop over there on Twitter. I'll post out the final lineup We've got $9.80 is 10% of the bankroll for tonight. So what we will do is one $2 GPP, which I believe is the layup on DraftKings, and then we'll do as usual seven $1 heads ups, all against different players. I'm not sure if I've mentioned that yet. So what I do is I make sure that I limit our opponents can only play us in one matchup at a time, so that just to help out with variance a little bit, since we're doing this challenge and trying to have good bankroll management. So we will play one $2 GPP and seven heads up matches. So I will post out anything that I see as far as the players in question tonight on Twitter. And I will talk to you guys soon. All right, good luck tonight.